Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our Why Try webinar for the week. Very excited for the discussion that I anticipate having, and very excited to have my co-panelists on with me. So, welcome everybody. A couple quick notes just on the logistics. This is one of our Why Try webinars. We've been doing these since about 2020. I think I'm up into the 90s now of total number of these webinars that I've done, and it's just been a really fun. I know, Andrea. I know. I'm working on it. I gotta get up over 100. And so we try to do a couple of these a month, and it's been really fun. It's turned into a really fun community where we have people that show up that have really good ideas and have a very common commitment to really trying to help out the students and the clients that you all serve. So thank you all for being here. Just kind of a brief overview of what to expect. We're going to go for about an hour today, give or take a few minutes. Occasionally, it'll go a few minutes over, but we'll target about an hour. We are recording it. I hesitate to mention that early because we really enjoy having as many of you on live as we can, and we've got a really nice live turnout right now. This is live. We are on a webinar link, which means I can't see the rest of you or hear you. I can only see my co-panelist, but we do keep a live chat. And so we will have that chat open so you can respond, put questions in, or we will even probably at least a couple times throughout offer up some opportunities for you to respond and share some of your insight on some of the things that we're discussing. So one note on the chat that's helpful, the chat settings for most of you are going to be fine. You won't have to change it. But if you want to just double check to make sure that other people can see your comments in the chat, the way you check that is if you open up your chat box where you type in a message, right above where you would type the message, it says to, and then there's a little drop down menu where you select who you're sharing your message with. And that should say to everyone. If it doesn't say everyone, if it says to hosts and panelists or anything else, then other people won't be able to see your comments. So go ahead and make sure that says to everyone. And then I always like to do a quick check-in. Of late, I've been doing the emoji check-in. It's kind of fun. I think I'm going to do it again. Type an emoji into the chat that it's a Thursday. So this will be a Thursday check-in. Type an emoji into the chat that it expresses where you're at emotionally at this point in the week. What's your emotional expression for Thursday afternoon? I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. The upside down smiley face, kind of the crazy smiley face. That's probably the one I'm feeling a little bit. Halo, I like it. Okay. Yeah, I feel a little bit of all of that. Well, thank you so much for being here and showing up for this. I'm excited, as I mentioned, for the discussion. This is probably roughly a continuation of what the discussion we started last week. We're really trying to show some of the Why Try approach to how we address and talk through some student challenges. So organizationally, our organization, the Why Try organization who hosts these webinars, we've been around for about 20 years. We specialize in helping people teach the skills and sources of resilience. And so that's going to be kind of the backdrop for how we're approaching this discussion today. The title of our webinar is From Shutdown to Show Up, Helping Students Bounce Back, Persist, and Re-engage. And so our discussion is going to be built around that kind of common student challenge. To help me out, I am very thrilled to have back on. I've lost track of how many times it's been. I think it's been at least 5. We might be pushing closer to 7 or 9. I don't know. I'm going to have to go back and get an official count. But very thrilled to introduce my co-panelists today. This is Renee Solis in Northern California, the Tulare, California area. Renee has dedicated over 20 years to education, specializing in mental health, suicide prevention, social emotional learning for children and adolescents. Much of his work has focused on supporting underprivileged youth and addressing the unique challenges that they face and ensuring that they have access to critical resources and emotional support. Renee's extensive experience includes collaborating with school districts and communities to promote mental wellness, provide critical interventions, and implement programs that foster emotional resilience and awareness. Passionate about making a lasting impact on the well-being of all students, particularly in those underserved communities, by creating supportive environments that encourage open discussion around mental health and well-being. Renee works in the Tulare County Office of Education. He serves a very broad, both geographically and I think demographic wise, collection of students and teachers and educators, and is a really, really good soul, but really gifted educator and facilitator as well. And I've had the privilege of working with him for a few years now, and really appreciate that. Renee, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us.
No, thanks for having me. Always fun to talk about why try and what's going on with you guys and anybody else who's on this same journey to teach it. It's a good one for sure.
It really is. And I'll introduce myself. I'm Jason Johnson. I'm the director of training for the Y Try organization. Prior to working for Y Try, I've been here for about 10 years. Prior to working for Y Try, I worked as a school psychologist in the largest school district in my home state of Utah, and had the opportunity to work in elementary, middle school, and secondary settings. And then for the last 10 years have been helping educators and mental health professionals really explore and expand the ways that they teach the skills of resilience. And it's been a really fun kind of second phase to my career. And I really appreciate the opportunity I have to collaborate with just some of the best humans around, the people, all of you that work within this field. So with that, let's get right into the discussion. We're going to be talking about some strategies and some approaches to help students when it comes to problem solving, being persistent, not giving up, re-engaging, finding motivation, all of those really difficult challenges. Now, to give just a basic backdrop to the approach that we prefer, I go around in my trainings, and I always try to start by doing an informal listening session and really just trying to learn about the specific challenges that are occurring in each area. I've trained people in all 50 states. I've trained people throughout the world in different settings, and there's a lot of unique challenges to certain areas, but there's also a lot of commonality to challenges. And when it comes to supporting students specifically, this idea of motivation, not giving up, problem solving, getting back up and trying again when faced with adversity or challenge is one of the most universal things that gets expressed when I'm working with educators and mental health providers locally. And so we thought it would be fun to dig into it today and model a little bit of our approach. Just to pull the curtain back a little bit, I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek at our toolkit. And by the way, we gave away some resources last week. We're going to do something similar this week as well. Again, I've got some great resources that we're going to just give to you. I'll put a link up towards the end to show you how to get them. But here is a live look at our toolkit that I think represents nicely what our approach is to dealing with student challenges. And we try to take a real skills-based approach where we align specific skills of resilience with specific challenges that our students may be dealing with. And so you can see here our list on the learning units column here on the left. That's kind of our big list of the skills of resilience that we focus in on: decision making and consequences, positive self-image, emotional regulation, motivation and a resilient mindset, peer influence and positive relationships, problem solving, which is where we're going to dig in today, hard work and determination, responsibility and self discipline, support systems and relationship building, and then a future ready vision and self efficacy. We know this isn't a complete list of the skills of resilience, but this is a great foundational piece. And what I found is when we can take a real skills based approach like that, it allows us to be, I think, really practical and really targeted with trying to have specific responses to certain student challenges. Now, we've been able to add a chatbot feature in our toolkit, which has been nice. It's a nice help to align challenges with the skills of resilience that you may want to teach. But we're going to model a little bit live today what this looks like. We take kind of an engaging approach. We use visual metaphors to help reinforce the concepts that we teach, and then we combine it with different ways that we can make it engaging. So I brought in Renee as a really effective teacher when it comes to this stuff. I've been really impressed. I've had the opportunity to I met him early on when he was first learning about our process, and then I've just watched him bloom. He was already an incredible facilitator, but seeing what he's done with some of our tools and approach has been really, really fun. So Renee, I want to set you up, and let's just talk first a little bit about challenges, or what we might describe as hurdles. I'm wondering, maybe tell the audience a little bit about the area and the population that you serve, and then maybe talk a little bit about what some of the challenges you see from some of your students out there are, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of things that we deal with here that everybody can relate to and touch on, especially with just youth culture today. However, we live in a very impoverished area. It's in the Central Valley of California. A lot of low-income families. We do have different pockets of different demographics. A lot of immigrants here. A lot of different people of all different kinds. It's really interesting. But one of the things that we run into, we have a lot of attendance issues, so that's definitely something we've tried to help address with the districts that we serve. There's definitely a lot of drugs and alcohol that we find ourselves dealing with a lot. So overcoming just different culture is a little bit hard. Not the culture, their culture specific. We're not talking about ethnic culture. We're like talking about the culture of the area. That brings up a lot of different hurdles for these students to overcome. Reading level, math scores, these things are all things we have to continue to take a look at. But obviously, the social and emotional side of what our kids are dealing with today has been becoming a great problem. And so having them navigate that is really been a big deal. With the grades that we're serving, we have from about third grade all the way up through 12th grade that we serve with social emotional learning curriculum at a tier 1 level, tier 2 level, some tier 3, but that's usually done by the districts, but we're putting them through trainings and then providing technical assistance for that. And then all sorts of traditional schools and continuation, or even in the juvenile detention facilities here. So there's a broad range of people that we serve, my staff and I, with the Y-Tri curriculum.
Just doing incredible work. Talk a little bit about what are some of the trends you're seeing as far as students shutting down when they're presented or come up to a hurdle that they may have in life. What type of trends are you seeing there?
Well, it tends to be the focus of the hurdle, right? We have young people who kind of can morph from the thing they're seeing to the thing that they are, right? So if I have a kid that is dealing with anxiety, it can morph into an anxious kid, right? It's a difference between having a focus on the hurdle and letting the hurdle define who you are. And so anxiety definitely would be one of them, but we have this time where we're labeling a lot of those problems as a core piece of who we are, rather than seeing it as something we're getting past, getting over, getting through. And that really is the stopping point, because when they see that problem, it's not going away. It's something that exists in their family or at their school or in their community, and they kind of just grab hold of it as an identity. Now, it doesn't mean that those things aren't huge, right? When we see things like pain and trauma, failure, fear, or even things that are unfair, right? Inequality. Those things are things we really need to address, and that is important too. But we don't want it to become the defining factor of a young person's walk as they're going through their school day, because that's just going to set them back in a lot of ways to achieve the things we need them to achieve in school and even in their social lives.
Nice. Should we get into the visual approach of how you might what some of the stuff you're doing to address this? You want to get into it?
In the with the visual metaphor here, or what do you mean exactly?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Or do you want to, is there anything else you want to mention before we get into that?
No, I think that this lesson, this problem solving lesson, jumping hurdles is what we've noted as till a little while ago, is kind of tailor made for that thought process for sure.
Perfect. So one of our approaches then to aligning like a skill of resilience with a specific challenge. So we just talked about the challenge of like shutting down, disengaging, not re-engaging. Oftentimes it's a function or a result of an inability or an unwillingness or a fear of trying to problem solve through that challenge. These challenges are real. We never want to downplay them. Some of the problems that students are dealing with are very complex, very, very real, very in this complex moment. So I brought in Renee to try to help demonstrate how we can take this approach then to align those challenges. Would it be helpful, Renee, if I pull up the visual metaphor? So in this
Yeah.
case, as he mentioned, we describe this as jumping hurdles, right? We're gonna talk about how to help students jump over or get over some of their hurdles. So I'm gonna pull up my slides and then let you cook a little bit.
Yeah. So this metaphor specifically, it's not super complicated. It's pretty. What you see is what you get, pretty much right there. This visual metaphor is an easy one for them to process and walk through. But the metaphor specifically is about when people fixate, when young people fixate on, well, adults do it too, on obstacles, that they can move their whole life posture. And their whole life doesn't go, but the posture, what they're looking at, that visual thing, they can become very defensive first rather than try to be proactive, right? They're moving to a place of protecting themselves rather than a place of moving forward. And in these lessons, one of the things that it can be a little bit difficult is identifying all the problems. And what that actually means is not necessarily that everything in their life is a problem, but what is the thing about that thing they see that becomes a hindrance for them moving forward. So the hurdle is not necessarily just something in your way. It's something that can become your world if we're fixating too much. The moment that the hurdle becomes your world, that really starts to narrow your vision, right? That really starts to drop your energy level for wanting to get up, right? When the hurdle of school and effort becomes too much, that vision narrows, and I don't want to go to school. I don't want to be there anymore, right? Because I can't overcome this, or I don't feel like I can overcome this. My world posture has now changed. And so hope then starts to shrink, and that becomes a very big issue. So why people get stuck here is because one of the things that I've realized when I sit and talk about with young people, the capability and the strength that they have is so fantastically large, but they don't see it, right? They don't see what we see. And so bringing them to that visual and that understanding is a big deal. They are smart. And the other thing that they don't realize that they are also is supported. They're not alone. And that really is a fact. It is a fact that there are people that do care. It's hard for them to see sometimes, or it's even hard for them to trust that. And that can be the problem in itself. So we have to identify the problem. What is it that they're seeing that's moving that posture for them? Some of it can be the society in which they live, or maybe it can be a socioeconomic issue. It can be bullying, which definitely is going to be an issue for kids. Overcoming things like drugs and alcohol, and just even seeing it in their home. Is this something I'm going to embrace as a part of my life, or is it something that I want to get past? And that want is such a big deal. I love this on here when we start to label things and then my problems as that hurdle. The second thing isn't how do we get past it. The second thing is what have I jumped over before? And I love that part of it. Where have I been a success or had success? Now, I think sometimes we don't measure success in the same way. But one of the things we need to know is the fact that they showed up to our group, the fact that they came to school. Those are huge wins because there are so many times where those types of wins aren't seen as something significant, and it needs to be addressed. Um, the core truth behind this lesson is that when we fixate on these wins and rather on just looking at this thing that's changing their worldview, they can actually become more successful because they know how much strength is in them. All right, we talked about them not understanding that. So they we want them to stop being that anxious kid and just deal with the idea that maybe that anxiety is there. Okay, if they have that in front of them, what does that look like? The other thing we can't do is focus too much just on that issue. So what can I jump over? So the first number one, we see that up there at the top. We walk through, and when I talk about that, the things that I've heard from young people that say they've gotten past. I was working down with this specific group of kids in a very rough area, and they said, a win for me is that I'm still alive today. And this was a sophomore in high school. That was a win, and that win is so huge, but we don't think about it. I'm like, wow, I wouldn't have said that because he knows that in his life he's seen people that don't have that. Right? They've passed away. They've been overcome by the challenges of their life, and the fact that he's still just breathing was a win. But that's something that's super simple to look at. Other kids, they talk about their grades, they talk about their relationships, or they're talking about their family, and these are good positive things because they've won before. That third question there, the next question is, what can I jump over? This is a question of empowerment. What can they do? We know we've seen them do things in the past. When my staff goes out, this is something we really hinge on a lot. When I see my staff and I do some observations with them, as well as the groups that I do, when I see them talk about the idea or talk with them, and the idea behind this conversation is the empowerment conversation. What can you do? What are you capable of? And then we talk about strengths. We talk about things that they've done before, but also things that they want to achieve, and they really feel like they can do it. That's such a powerful and it's such a valuable part. It's so good. So when I moved to that, when we kind of locked into the idea of the power that they have, right? There are some things that we really start to indicate next, which is why should I try? And this is a great why try moment, right? Why should I try to engage with this? And what is to jump over this hurdle? Because a lot of times kids will ask the question, what's the point? Why is this important? Okay. One of the things that I always go back to, and in the very first lesson of Why Try, which is the reality rise, it's decision making, there are three goals there. It's opportunity, freedom, and self-respect. And so throughout the lessons that we teach, those three goals are always in front of us. Okay. And so if I can't find a motivation of why should I even try to attempt this because I've failed so many times before, or I've seen people fail before, or it just seems so insurmountable. Listen, who is the person that I want to be? We have opportunity, freedom, and self-respect. Those are the things that I'm going to grab a hold of and hinge on when we walk through that. Now, I will say in a more practical way, a lot of times kids don't, and I should have said this first, but when we're answering these questions, sometimes kids don't want to actually walk through this out loud. So a lot of times I'll give this visual metaphor with these questions before the lesson starts. So I know I'm backtracking here a little. And that way they can start writing things in it before. So that way they have something to say when you ask the question. Because if you have to let them sit back and think, and you have kids that don't want to talk, they can answer it on their worksheet, or you can hand it in. They don't even have to put their name on it. But they just have good ideas that are helping them develop this metaphor. So let's catch back up. So when we know why we should do it, we have the goals of that freedom, opportunity, and self-respect. the things that we're really aiming at. This is the why we don't want to sit back. We want to jump over these hurdles. Then we talk about, okay, we know what you've done, right? We know what you can do. We know that this is why we want to do it. Let's talk about it. What are the good skills that you have in your life right now that make you capable of this? And by the way, we know that most of the things that they're going through don't take a lot of things that they don't already possess. We just need to guide them in the right direction. Do they have the strength? Yes. Do they have the ability? Yes. Do they have the focus? Maybe not. That might be something that we really need to help. So what is the skills that the strengths they do have? Well, I'm really driven in this area. Great. So how do I focus that student to the specific area? These are the places where I can come in and be a little bit more of a help to that. So when we're walking through these things, we do have to understand that our young people are not always going to be willing. I know that some of you are thinking about a student right now, and you're like, they're not going to answer any of these questions. This is where those three R's come in with why try. For me, it's rules and relationship, because that's what's going to happen. But rules without relationship equal rebellion, right? So we're not going without that, we're not going to get too far. But when we're kind of about this place, one of the things that I like to do is bring in one of those multimedia things. So we're going to either bring in a video, or I'm going to play a different game with them. So once they've answered questions, we're going to now pique the interest in a way that they can visualize a little bit, and they can see what we're trying to get across. So here, actually, once I get to that number 5 is probably about the time I start to look at the video, Jason, which is for me the one I like to use is this young girl who's running a race. It's on the website that you can get from the Why Try resources there. But
It's available on YouTube as well. Do you want to watch it now, or do you want to watch it after?
yeah, we can watch it real quick, because the processing of this kind of takes us to the next place we want to go.
And I think it highlights in a nice way the approach. We're always trying to make this process engaging as we go throughout it. So here's the video Renee referenced. This is available on YouTube. We have a whole curated list of videos that thematically support the skills of resilience that we're trying to teach. But this is you're going to see a video of a pretty incredible act of resilience of I believe she's either a middle schooler or a high schooler running a race, and she is faced with a setback, with a challenge. She experiences a problem mid race, and has a pretty interesting response to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit play here.
So I kept reading that thing. Now I'm all looking for I tricked her up to school, but I find her no, no, so it's together more even. I don't how to run this. What's in the whole way? Each of you, so I under the gap. Well, I don't show anything in so you might be happy. Go, Lexus, come on! Oh! It's okay! It's okay! Go, Alexis! Go! Go! Go, Alexis! Go! Go! Dance! Go! Wow!
Right. Well, that says it all, right? So the idea here is that she's focused on the goal. What happens when the hurdle is not something that's easy? So when we process this, this whole thing, what happens when she hits the hurdle, right?
Let's process live for just a minute. I think it's a good experience. Sure. I'm curious. Type into the chat. What was your initial feeling, your initial emotion when you saw the runner fall over the hurdle? What was your immediate reaction? The gasp, the ouch, right? Exactly. Yeah. Oh no, crap. Perhaps even worse. And imagine what she was experiencing with it. Yes. All of those emotions. Oh, I love it, Sarah. What impressed you? What impressed you about her response? Where did you see that moment of resilience kick in? She did have every right to quit.
Right.
got back up, kept going.
Oh, it's
Really
interesting.
good.
Yeah, I'm also. What do you think that her thought process was at that point? Because she did have every right to quit. I love that you said that she could have stayed down there. What do you think she thought right away? Mm. Good.
The
Yeah.
encouragement from the sideline is so good.
Yeah, that was big too. Yeah.
The race isn't over.
Yeah. Not get deterred. She's a superstar like that.
It's so good. So the goal is, the hope is, how can we do that even when we're not in a timed race? Can we do that in those small moments of life, right?
Right.
I think that's the exact direction you're taking us.
When
Andrew, I think that absolutely had part of it, and I think that highlights a key piece of resilience. That power of a caring adult. We know there's
Sure.
a tremendous resilience power in that, and there was a caring adult cheering her on. That's what we're trying to do for our students. But there was also something in her that didn't give up, that immediately popped up and just kept running. Such a power. It gives me chills watching it and thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's huge. And the idea here that usually the students that I'm working with, they think, well, like, and a few people said it, the race isn't over. We got to finish the race. The goal hasn't been met yet, right? And it's not, and it hasn't, nothing has stopped you, right? It has tripped you up for sure, but there is the full ability to continue on. And that's the conversation that we end up getting to. And we've had this conversation with elementary students, again, all the way up to 12th grade. They kind of come to those same conclusions. They don't see it as something that should stop you. There is definitely, by the way, I've looked them up to compare them, where there's people have tripped before and they kind of stop, or they slow up, or they just don't want to continue in the same way. They might finish, but they don't continue the same. And I think it's about what's the ability in sorry, I'm saying this weird. What is in you? What kind of ability is in you to finish this well? And by the way, had she not won the race, that wouldn't have been the tragedy of the moment, right? She would have got, if she got up and she continued on and still finished as best she could. That's huge, right? The fact that she won was such a powerful thing. But it really isn't necessarily about that. It's about continuing on regardless of the thing that just happened, and that's a big deal too. I love asking that question. What happens if she didn't win, right? And a lot of kids will initially be like, well, that was then that's a failure, and they'll start to process. We'll process that more. Like, is it a failure if she didn't win? Right? She got up. She was pushed down, got up, and tried again. That's such a big deal. Yeah. I don't know if you want to add to that, Jason.
No, I think it's really wise insight. So then the natural question for me becomes like, so that's like a big spotlight moment that was filmed. A lot of people saw it, but what can we take now and apply in those smaller moments? And
Yeah.
and you guys are asking the right questions. How do we get a kid to care that much? So I may not have a literal hurdle in front of me. Maybe my hurdle is, it's really hard for me to show up to class.
Right.
How do I begin to overcome that hurdle now? And I think that's kind of that next logical progression of where we're trying to go with that.
Sure. Yeah, and I think small wins are important. Like we said, what are the things that we can do? That's an important piece. What can I jump over? Number three there. Um, what's important there is that they can see the things that they do, but you have to again check some boxes for them. I know that students, when they start to well, I'm sure like all of you, as anybody really enjoy a good to-do list where you start making some checks, right? I feel like when you start to see it live, you're just like, wow, look at all the things I accomplished. And you're like, I do these things every day. Yes, but it is important to know that you're not just sitting. You are accomplishing regardless of what the outcome looks like. And you're like, well, it's not that big a deal to me. But it is important to know that you are accomplishing things. And I think those small wins, like if it, like just getting to class, just go to class. Yeah, just go to class. What is that?
Or as Christine said, just showing up to school. I am curious. Another check in with the attendees. Type into the chat. What's one of the first hurdles that comes to mind when you think about metaphoric hurdles for your students? What are the hurdles your students, your kiddos, your clients are being confronted with right now? Throw them in the chat. Chaotic family life, homework,
Yeah,
real significant. Getting to school,
big one. It's a big one.
just staying alive,
Yeah.
depending on where they're at. Transportation, motivation, maybe fear of legal entities stepping in and disrupting their family.
Mhm.
Peer pressure, lack of parent support, social battery. These are incredible. Social anxiety, poor self-concept, attendance, incarcerated parents. These are all real significant
Right.
challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a great list. And it feels so hard and so unfair sometimes that young people have to deal with some of these, but these are, the reality for their life sometimes.
Right.
Lack of friends, regulating emotions. Probably a good jump in point or connection point now, Renee. Why don't you walk us through the steps now that we teach towards problem solving?
All right. We can throw those up if you have them there too.
Yep.
Um,
Want me to put all 6 up at a time or together?
Sure. That's fine. That way we can walk through and just fly through it. So, identifying the problem. What is the problem? What problem do I really want to overcome? Now, one of the things that we have to really look at, and we do this again in decision making, right? What are the things that what are problems look like, and what do we how are we going to overcome them? They have to be manageable, right? When we're talking about something they'll want to overcome, I've had kids come to me first day of school. I'm like, what is the thing you want to do this year? And they say, I want to get straight A's. And even though I know it is in them to get straight A's, we have a great, GPA of like a 1.2 in the year before. I'm like, I'm not saying we're going to set the bar high, but we're going to set the expectation on the first day in a manageable way, because they are strong enough, but they have the skill level of it. And so we got to identify the problem, right? Create options. And this is a big deal. This is something that we teach in suicide prevention and mental health awareness. We want to create options. Why? Because we want to have them have a step in creating the solutions for themselves, right? So if we create a lot of different things that they get to choose from, this is inherently letting them understand, look, I get to choose this stuff. They're going to help me put this list together, but I get to take the next step, because we're walking with them. We're not pushing them. We're not dragging them. We're walking with them in this moment, right? And get help. The fact that we're standing there already is super easy. Who can I get to help me overcome this hurdle, right? And really quickly, I'd love to hear this, because I think sometimes we get very limited our own view of who it is that can actually help with some of these things. Who are some people in their lives that maybe might be a little unconventional, that we don't always think about, maybe at the school, maybe in their friends, maybe in their house? Who are some people that can help them overcome some of these hurdles? And maybe even essential people. You guys can write that in the chat. That would be helpful. I would love to know that.
Great question. And it's interesting as they're responding. I even think back to the video of the girl running, and I'm just going through in my mind, like, who are the people that helped her? And there's some obvious ones. There's the
Right.
presumably like cheering adult or parent in the crowd, but there's a coach behind the scenes that's helped
Right.
up to that point. There's teammates. There's
Right.
possibly other people that helped along the way, maybe teachers that have encouraged within the
Yeah.
school. And thinking even about some of the people that they're putting in the list: staff and friends, counselors, campus supervisors, friends, parents, all of these
Huge.
caring adults that can provide that framework.
Right. Yeah, and I love that you put friends, moms. I mean, that's a little bit more of an informal thing. We're listing a lot of people here, which are all really great. But sometimes it's going to be not a position that somebody holds. Mentor, neighbors, kind of the same idea there. I always suggest, well, not always suggest, it depends, because I get to know the upfront staff very well. That lady that sits up at the front and is there all day, and the kids come in, they just talk to her, and she's always there, so she's willing to talk. That lady usually is somebody that becomes a very good asset for us when we're talking to kids. But a trusted adult is something that we really want to push there. And then finding trusted adults who's good at the thing that they're trying to overcome. So when we're taking action, what specific behaviors do I need to stop or add to jump my hurdle? And this one's big, and this is going to take honesty. So sometimes it takes a few run throughs to kind of get to where we're trying to go with stop behaviors or added behaviors. So I'm never going to have them write something down and say, okay, that's not going to work for stop behaviors. I'm just going to have them write more until they whittle down to what it is that we're really looking at. Because they stop behaviors might say, okay, stop being angry all the time. I think that's a great stop behavior, but what is some of the things that kind of can lead to that? So we might walk through this with them a little bit more. Stop behavior. Added behaviors usually get a little bit easier. Do all my homework. That's an easy one, right? We get that that's probably going to be a positive one to do. And we're going to talk through on how that can be possible. But make sure that when you're doing stop behaviors, we're not judging them, all right? Because they just are things that they're being honest. They're coming up with these things. We're not judging them, but we're going to work through them to find the very specific things that we want to really work at there. And we can help guide that too. When we look at these stock behaviors and add behaviors, we're only going to pick a couple. You can't pick a lot right away. There's a couple. Now, Why Try has about 10 lessons, and depending on what your setup for Why Try is, it might even be more than that you're going through. So you might have talked about some of these little goals before, and you can just reiterate that. This is a good place to know that, wow, I know it's a goal we set for this last lesson, but this is going to help me overcome this hurdle in a big way, right? That's huge. That's something that we're reinforcing things that we looked for from in the past. We're not coming up with something brand new all the time. It can just be in a reinforcement of something that we're trying to get really sunk into the students. And that's such a positive thing. This number 5 is where we might have some of the most telling conversation in the group or the session. Believing in change. Believe in change. On a scale from 1 to 10, circle where you are believing change will happen. All right. I'm going to tell you what, this is huge when you're finally working through with a class or a group or even just one-on-one, where you have some trust already flowing, when they can say, you know what, I love what we're doing here. I really like this, but I don't know if my surroundings are going to allow this to happen, or they really believe it. Right? Because I know that some of you work with some students and you've had a great day. You send them home to the culture in which they live, and you come back, it's like starting all over again. Right? We start all over again. We don't want like that, but they're being influenced by so much in ways that are counterproductive to what we're trying to get across. And so when they're being honest, sometimes I'll get kids who say, I have 2 or 3. I feel like I've been trying this forever. And people around me say I can't do it, or people keep getting on my case. I don't really know how this is going to work. We've already set up a system for this to happen for them. And they're still in a place that believing in change might be a little bit difficult. So this is a conversation that we let them be very honest with. Why is this change difficult? What is something why you don't believe this could happen? This is important to note that in number 5. That sometimes if I have the opportunity, I will do 2 sessions of this one, and we'll come back to this, because when they get to sit on it for a little bit, sometimes they'll bring it up like, oh, you know what? I thought about it overnight, and I really do believe I could do this, or here's why I don't think it can happen. But the opening up of this conversation can open so many doors to so many other things. What's going on in their life? What are the real hurdles they want to get past? What are the things they really know that they can do or not do? And so this is a great conversation. And so I remember teaching this to some of my staff, and we say believing in change. Sometimes we just pass over that, and we got to remember, just stick on this one for a quick second. Number 6, jump back up. The idea of resilience. I mean, this is all about resilience. Well, when we watch that video, that is the depiction of resiliency. And resiliency is kind of the key factor that we're really trying to push when we're doing the Why Try training. And so if I trip, how will jumping back up make me stronger? And that is an interesting statement, and not just how will me jumping back up achieve my goal. We don't want to just achieve stronger, right? I not only so the cool thing about that video, which we don't always get them to see, it's not that she won the race, it's that she was so far behind and still won the race. That's where strength looks, right? That's where strength is. It's not in the fact that you could win, it's the fact that you could win in spite of this. And such a big deal. So this is where we start to wrap up with our students. We've come through all the practical steps, then we get into a little more of the philosophical view of what they actually believe, and then we kind of end here. What should my self-talk be telling me as I try to jump my hurdle, right? What are some things that I can bring up? And honestly, we have some of the language already written down by some of the things that they're capable of, how much strength they have. That's important. Here's why I believe that I can do this. Those things are the self-talk that we want to reiterate and have them get to. So when I ask that final question, I have them go back. I'm like, what are some of the things that we talked about that you can look at to remember? All right. What I need to say to myself to get me to a place that's continually motivated. And by the way, I get that getting kids to do this all the time is not super easy, right? But this is a practice. So we're going to ask them to not to do it. We're going to say we're going to practice it, because it's not something that's always going to be super easy to do. Just practice it, right? It's not always easy to go to football practice or baseball, basketball practice. It's not easy to go to hockey practice, but it is a practice that we continue to do, because one day we're going to have to stand up for what we're looking at, and that practice of self-talk is going to be the thing that's driving that. Okay.
Well, and I think that's where it becomes really critical that we make it engaging as well, which
Sure.
we've tried to model with the video. And I'm going to do an activity here momentarily. One other thing I was just thinking, when we teach this, a lot of times the problems that they may initially mention, and many of the ones that you shared are like really big problems, like capital P problems. And they may be problems that we can't have an immediate impact. Like if something happens to my parents, I may not be able to change that. But I think the part of the follow-up is, what problems are my problems creating? Like this thing has happened to my parents, or maybe I've lost a loved one. So that's a big P problem. I may not be able to change or impact that, but then that also has a domino effect and it creates other problems. So those other problems may be the real actual hurdles right in front of us. Well, now I feel really lousy or really depressed every morning and I can't get myself out of bed. So that may be the problem that my big problem created. So now how can I address that as the hurdle? And I think that's where that this questioning process is helpful, because it can allow us to dial into those specific hurdles as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when we bring those things up, it's really good too, because we get them to focus on the idea that this is just a reality of life. It's not necessarily need to be labeled, right? Such a big deal. So if I'm like laying on a couch depressed, this is not a negative or a positive. This is a situation that I know that I have resources and abilities and skills to get past. Now, is there something that we could label it as? For sure, but it is a good pivot in the way that you're looking at it. So that's good. So we're going to move to 15 pencils.
Yeah, I want to do an activity. I'm going to try something that'll be interesting in a group this big. And by the way, we're going to give this whole lesson to you. I'll put up a QR code after, and it includes a parent resource you can share with your parents and a student worksheet. But I want to demonstrate how we can do an activity and we can use the processing of the activity to circle back. I would love to teach one of you how to play this game called 15 Pencils, preferably somebody that's never played it before. I've got a big group, so I'm going to have to pick randomly, but anybody willing to volunteer in the chat to be willing to let me teach them live on air here how to play 15 Pencils? Just, see if we have any brave volunteers. Okay, nice. We've got, it looks like Melody came in. So Melody, I'm going to see if it'll allow you to unmute. It'll go a little more smoothly if you can speak. Melody, can you unmute yourself? See if it allows you to talk. Melody, can you hear me?
I heard it for a quick second.
Yeah, just about. Can you hear me, Melody? Hey, it's all right if you can't. We can use the chat still. Melody, have you ever played 15 pencils?
Um,
Okay. You ready to learn how? All right. Here's how it works, Melody. You and I are going to take turns. On your turn, you get to say how many pencils you would like removed. It can be either one, and it has to either be one, two, or three. So on your turn, you get to request to have one, two, or three pencils removed. You and I are going to take turns, Melody, and on your turn, you tell how many pencils you want removed. It has to be either one, two, or three. And we're going to go back and forth until somebody is left with the last pencil. Whoever gets stuck with the last pencil loses. Do you understand the rules as far as I've explained them, Melody? Awesome. Okay. Melody, where are you located at, by the way? I want to know where my opponent is. All right, Melody in Arizona, representing the great state of Arizona. Melody, since you're my guest, I'm going to let you choose if you would like to go first or second. Melody, would you like to go first or second? And for those that can't see, she's playing along in the chat here. Melody chose to go first. Melody, how many pencils would you like to remove? It has to be one, two, or three. Melody chooses to remove three. Okay, now it's my turn. I'm going to match you. I'm going to remove three as well. Melody, it's back to you. Would you like to remove one, two, or three pencils? Melody chooses to remove two. I'm going to match you as well. I'm going to take away two. Melody, it's your turn now. How many would you like removed? Melody chooses two. I'm going to take two away as well, and I dropped that last pencil on you. So, Melody, I got you that round, but that was your first time ever playing, so you're new to the game. We won't count that one on your permanent 15 pencils record. Melody, do you have another round? Do you have another round in you? You want to play another round? All right, let's go. You're still my guest. Are you going first or second? By the way, Melody, the people are cheering for you in the chat. They want to see a victory. They want to see an Arizona victory. All right, Melody chooses to go second this round. That means I have to go first. I'll change it up. You took three last time. I'll mix it up. I'm going to take two. Melody, how many pencils would you like to take? Melody chooses three. Okay, I'll go ahead and remove one. It's back to you. How many do you choose? Melody chooses three. Okay, I'm going to take away one. It's back to you, Melody. How many do you choose? Melody chooses one. And I'm going to take away three. Melody, I dropped that last pencil on you again. So, in the interest of time, we only played two rounds. Normally, I would play this a few times. Now, Melody, hold tight. Let's process together. And she's going, that's not a very graceful host, is it? Let's process this together. And then, Melody, I'm gonna challenge you to a rematch after we process together and see if we can influence the outcome a little bit. So processing will be for everybody. Checkers from hell, Keith. All right, what made this game difficult? Why might this game have been difficult for Melody? And the processing is for everybody. Did it ever feel like I knew something that perhaps my opponent didn't? The stupid math. Some limited choices. She's not used to the rules. I already knew perhaps how to win. Does life ever feel like that? Do we ever look around and say, why has everybody else figured it out? And I just keep struggling with this thing. I experience this regularly, right? It's what happens when we compare ourselves to other people sometimes. Now, did anybody figure out any of the patterns? Interestingly enough, there's a simple pattern. Does anybody have a hypothesis on what the pattern might be? So there's actually a fairly simple pattern that I can teach you. And if you can learn the pattern, you can you can almost guarantee a win every time. We'll circle back around to that pattern. So similarly, just like there's a pattern and a strategy that can help me with this game, there's certain patterns and strategies that can help us increase our ability to jump our hurdles in life. And it goes back to that 6 step problem solving model that Renee taught. When we follow certain patterns, follow certain steps in life, it gives us a huge advantage. What's going to give us more success in life? Playing our luck or following the formula? Or I should say, following a formula. Formula usually provides more consistency. Now, luck can be helpful. I have certainly been the recipient of good luck at different times in my life. But I've found when I follow certain formulas and routines, particularly as it pertains to problem solving, that it sets me up to be more successful in overcoming challenges and jumping hurdles consistently. So here's the formula. I'm going to teach the formula, and then Melody, I'm going to challenge you to a rematch once you know the formula. The formula is 3 magic numbers. The 3 magic numbers are 2, 6, and 10. If you can get to any of those numbers first, you can guarantee a win. So the best formula to win, to guarantee a win, is to go first, which a couple of you picked up on. Go first and choose 2. Once you choose 2, it doesn't matter what the other person picks. You're going to be able to get to 6, the next magic number. So if the other person picks 1, you'll pick 3 and you're at 6. Once you're at 6, it doesn't matter what the other person picks. If they pick 2, you'll pick 2 so that you can get to the third magic number, which is 10. Melody picked up in the second round. Once I was at 10, that was game over, right? It didn't matter what Melody picked. So if the other person picks 1, you'll be able to pick 3. 2, 6, and 10 are the 3 magic numbers. Now I'm going through this quickly for time, but Melody, I want to challenge you to a rematch. Do you accept my challenge to a rematch now that you know the 3 magic numbers? Okay, so you're representing the great state of Arizona. I'm going to be representing the Y-Tri team here in Utah. And now this one is to declare the official final champion for 15 pencils on the week. Melody, you are still my guest. Would you like to go first or second? Hint, go first. All right, Melody, it looks like you choose to go first. And am I accurate? Did you choose 2? Is that what the number 2 means?
Yeah.
All right, just checking. I don't like to lose, so I'm going to try to talk you out of some of your choices here. Melody chooses 2. I'm on the clock now. I'm going to take away 1. Melody, you're up. How many pencils would you like to choose? Melody chooses 3 in the chat. All right, I'm sweating now. You're playing a real good game here. You've got a good strategy. I'm going to take away 2. Melody, how many pencils do you choose? And a reminder, the 3 magic numbers were 2, 6, and 10. So Melody, how many pencils do you choose? And if any of you want to help, feel free. Hey, Melody, you've got several votes for 2. Is 2 your answer? Melody chooses 2. Oh my goodness. Now I'm really sweating. Okay, I'm going to choose 1. Melody, how many pencils would you like to take? Melody chooses 3. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the newest 15 pencils champion. Melody dropped that last pencil on me, representing the great state of Arizona. Melody, you got your win. You got back up. You tried again. You learned the strategy and you learned the steps. Similarly, we can learn the steps towards problem solving. Those same steps that Renee taught us here, that 6-step problem solving model, and it can give us a huge advantage towards problem solving in life. We are about out of time. Renee, do you have anything that you'd like to add before I put up the QR code for people to be able to access these resources?
No, I'm just excited people are using the curriculum. This is it's a very important topic, obviously. But it is great that we have people that are trying to be better and get better and learn more, because that's always important when we're trying to work with kids. So that's awesome. So thank you for that.
So by the way, we include that game, 15 Pencils, in the resources that you can download. If you'll go to this QR code, it'll take you to a page where you can download the actual walkthrough with the slides that Renee presented from. It'll give you the processing questions. It'll give you the game 15 Pencils, and it'll give you a parent resource. It's a great quick hitter. You can jump right in and take this approach to teaching problem solving to your students. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me direct, jason@ytry.org. I've also got Renee's email address up there. Renee's a great resource if you have questions on this. Linda, if you'll email me, jason@ytry.org, and remind me that you couldn't get the QR code. Any of you, if you can't get the QR code to work, or if you're not in a spot where you can access the QR code, send me a direct email, jason@ytry.org, and let me know that you're interested in those resources, and I'll get you the link that the QR code goes to so that you can download them. So hit me up with an email, jason@ytry.org. Let's give a huge round of applause to Renee. Renee, that was an awesome walkthrough that you did. Maybe closing thoughts. How about this, Renee?
Yeah.
Is there, I'm going to put you on the spot. Can you think of a hurdle, and it could be a big or a small hurdle, that you've witnessed a student overcome or get over in the last year at some point? Any hurdle that you want to shout out?
Yeah, I had we've dealt with unfortunately, a lot of suicidal ideation, and we've had a lot of amazing breakthroughs that these students have walked through. It's been really great. So yes, and it's really this idea of depression or that thought process, but it's been great. It's been really cool to watch them get to a place where life is exciting again.
That's awesome. Real well worth celebrating that. That's a great hurdle. Great job with that. I'm going to shout out a friend. I don't normally do this, but we have a very good friend named Tim Nolan in Cincinnati. He is a longtime youth advocate, educator, mental health provider, one of the best youth advocates I have ever met. We've given him a Resilience Award. He's been going through some medical procedures for quite a while, but it's some procedures that take a lot out of a person. He tries to get on here live. I don't think he was on live today, but I just want to shout Tim out. And if you believe in sending good energy towards good people, and you're willing to send a little Tim's way, send a little Tim's way. One of the best humans I've ever met, and really want to shout him out. Just a great person, and we're really looking forward to Tim getting some energy back and getting back on his feet soon. Hey, huge thank you to everybody that showed up, participated in our webinar today. Thank you all for doing the good work. I know it can feel really exhausting right now in education and community service and support, and we're dealing with a lot. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for doing the good work that you're doing, and really excited for some of you to get access to some of these resources. If you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, in the meantime, I'm going to play us out with a little bit of music like I do. I'll keep the QR code up, and then we'll catch you on the other side. Ready? Break.